I would probably take an average 1-2 grinder playing his A game over an average 25-50 grinder playing his C game any day.
You're listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. Each week, you'll get to peek inside the greatest minds in the game and discover what makes them successful.
Mental toughness separates those that can't handle the stress.
If you're going to treat it like an amateur, you're probably going to have amateur results.
Now here's your host, Elliot Rowe.
Welcome to the Mindset Advantage podcast. I'm your host, Elliot Rowe. This episode is brought to you by my A-Game Poker Masterclass in partnership with Run It Once Training. To get all the details on how you can become an A-Game player and take your game to the next level, just visit agameclass.com. That's agameclass.com. Our guest for today's episode is poker pro Shakti Jahan. Interestingly, he didn't create his wealth through just playing at the tables, but rather by building a network over the last decade and hosting private games all around the world. I found his approach fascinating, so I invited him on the show today to share his story with you. So let's jump into the call. Shakti, thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Hey, Elliot, what's up?
I've been really looking forward to having you on the show to share your story because I think you can bring some information on a completely different side of poker that most of our listeners have probably not heard about at all. So you've been running private games, across the world. I'd love you to start off just talking to us about how that started and, the process of creating those games.
You know what? My story is, it's very detailed. I've been doing this for about 10 years and I started without a plan and just started like one thing led to another and I just kept on doing things. But yeah, I've been more on the hustle side of it. I know a lot of the guys do it the right way, which I truly believe is the right way to study and, make yourself better. And, but there are a few things that I know better than some of the traditional guys, which is getting people together, getting in touch with the right people, getting games going, and how to profit the most from those games and from those settings. So yeah, in 2011, when I got back from America, I was in America doing my flight training, trying to become a pilot. I completed my license and I was applying to airlines and so on. And I'm actually writing a book about it. You know that. I'm writing a book about it, and we're going to try and make it into a TV show or something, like developing it into a script or something, because I think there's some interesting segments in the story. But yeah, so I was applying to all these airlines, and no one would have me because at the time there was just an overflow of guys that came in for pilot jobs, and I started playing poker as a hobby. Loved it. I was just pretty much gambling for the first 2-3 years. And that's why I used to love it. I used to show up at games and just win and lose more than win. And then I had to, it was almost like a crack habit, like I was losing money every day, every week. And that actually put some evolutionary pressure on me to come up with a way to make money to fuel my crack habit, and that was organizing games. I was always good with people, so I made friends easily, and I just organized myself in ways that, I just started organizing people in my phone, and then just started getting in touch with people on Facebook and so on, and just kept on growing my circle. And I used to do, when I started off, I used to organize, like send out text messages, get people together, provide them a service, and the game was $50 wine.
Yeah.
that was it. And I thought that was a decent sized game, and it was very exciting to have people on, and I would charge rake, and I would make I would say like $300-400 a day, and I thought that was more money than what I knew what to do with.
Yes. And then, the evolution, how did it go from that to becoming, so much larger? What were the steps that you needed to take?
Well, there was one aspect of direct networking. And once I exhausted that bit, once I knew all my friends and then friends of their friends, then I had to go on Facebook and social media to get in touch with more people. And what I would do is I would go on um, these groups, poker groups, right, in my city, and I would add all of those guys and start interacting with them. That was the first step. Then the next step, when I ran out of that, what I did was I went onto their friend lists and saw who among their friends had their interests as poker, and I started getting in touch with them and interact with them, and that just grew my circle so much that I had a game to play in every day. And the more games I played in, the more people I knew, and then I would just bring people together to have games. And then so this went on for about two years or so. And then once I had more money to travel and so on, then I started traveling to various cities and countries. And some games were inside the casinos, some games were outside the casinos, just based on trust and word. And it really baffles me, even till now. I mean, it baffles me when I went into flight training. We had to take a loan. We didn't have a lot of money. My father um, died when I was 15, and my mother raised the two of us. She was a single mother, and we had to borrow money. And when we borrowed money, like something like $10,000 from the bank would make us sign all these documents, and then a relative of mine would have to come and guarantee that if these guys die, we'll pay the money, and all of these guarantees and contracts. And in the world of gambling, I mean, there were no contracts, just your word, man. And that word has so much value. I mean, I today would not break my word for $100,000. Maybe, for a big sum of money, I would not break my word, because my word has value. And that in that the gambling industry teaches you that. Even not in the money matters. I mean, even if you just say something, you just honor it. In this world. And more so in my side of things, the hustle part of this private game culture. I mean, you honor your word, and if you don't honor your word, then you start. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't honor their word, but then they lose the value of their word, and then they have to just always front money or get a guy like me to guarantee for them, or And if people can trust you, that just has so much value. I've made so much money just because people knew if I'm saying something, I'll do it.
And what have you seen with some of the other games that were running when that hasn't gone well? So what sort of stories have you seen in the private game world?
Oh, there was always games going bust, and mostly the story was very similar to mine, which was if a guy is organizing a game, most of the time he's the one that is losing the money, and the rest of the guys are just coming to collect them. I mean, there's always other fish on the table, and there's always other guys losing money. But oftentimes, even a good player, if he's hosting his own game, we saw this common pattern that they would just end up losing money, because they had this inflow of rake coming in, and when you make money from your game, you just tend to be casual about it. You feel like, I mean, even if I lose today, I'll just organize 3 more games and make my money back. And that's not a good place to. That's not a good mindset to be in, because what happens inevitably is that there comes a time when your losses supersede your income and your the money that you owe. And unfortunately, a lot of the guys sometimes just give up and say that, well, I'm not paying. And when that happens, then they just lose their reputation. Nobody ever comes to play at their games again. And fortunately, I never did that. There were times when I not only lost my entire bankroll, but I went into a debt of 4 or 5 times the money of my bankroll. I mean, there was a time I went into so much debt that I had to work 2.5 years to come out of it. Because not only did I have to pay the principal, I paid principal with interest.
Yeah.
And the interest in non-collateral loans in the
It's
gambling
pretty
world,
high.
it's pretty high. It's like 2% per month. That's like, that's I paid some insane amount of money in interest. The interest part that I paid was more than my bankroll, before I got into the debt. Just the interest part.
And mindset wise, what was that like? Getting yourself to a stage where you're willing to work your way back out to keep your reputation. What was that like for you through that period?
I think that is the most one of the biggest gifts that I got in life. I mean, when that kind of pressure came on me, there was two options. Either I face the music and pay my dues, or I could have just been like, sorry guys, I mean, I don't have the money, and I'm sorry, and that would have opened the floodgates in a way that I would have just lost everything. And when I faced the music, and I actually developed the ability to make that kind of money, to pay it. I mean, once I had that debt paid, that skill of making that money didn't go away. It's still there with me. And then I just made so much more money after that. I mean, there was another thing that I want to mention here. That for years and years, because you mentioned mindset, I said, and I see a lot of poker players falling into this pit, and not only poker players, even young guys in general in their 20s. I abused alcohol like I haven't seen anyone abuse, like I haven't seen a lot of people abused. I've seen some intense guys, but I abused alcohol a lot. And I see some of the other guys abusing things like marijuana. Some guys that I know that were even professional athletes that got into poker, that they just start eating and they let themselves go and they become overweight, and that really will not only affect your ability to make money in poker and gambling, but it will affect your life in general, and that so quickly becomes a downward spiral. And the environment, especially on my side of the game. I mean, I know some of these guys, that play tournaments, have a very good circle and they're studying regularly, and but on my hustle side of poker, almost every other guy was involved with substance abuse, alcohol. Marijuana is a very common occurrence. Sports betting is very, very big. It's a very big league amongst players, because there's such sports fans, and all of these things really slowed me down. Where I am today, I could have been when I was 24. I'm 31 today. It was 5-6 years of just messed up things that I did, that I kind of, in a way, I kind of wish I didn't do, but then they taught me such lessons that now I carry. And I don't drink now. I don't smoke. I used to smoke like 2 packs a day. I don't smoke. I don't drink. By the way, shout out to Alan Carr if you ever want to smoke, like stop
Quit
smoking or
smoking,
drinking. Yeah, it's Alan Carr is the guy. It's like magic. You read his book, you instantly quit. It's not hard. I mean, I just want to write a book about his book. It's it's crazy.
And what did it mean for you at the table? Because this is something that comes up, especially on the recreational side of, I want to play poker around, I want to drink, and I want to have fun. Like, what did it mean for you when you managed to stop drinking and stop smoking and focus more on fitness and health when you went back to the tables?
I'll tell you something very interesting about this, Elliot. I thought it was going to give me health and I was going to lose weight. And the biggest thing that I thought I was going to get is that I will feel this this incredible release from this prison, right? Like every day I wake up in the morning with a headache, and after drinking so much alcohol, and I promised myself I won't drink again. And within the next 8 hours, I've lost that battle, and I'm drinking again in the evening. And same with smoking. I felt trapped. I felt like I was a slave to something, right? And that feeling, and it was very nice to get rid of that feeling. I felt that release and all that. But the biggest thing that I got from quitting alcohol and smoking is time.
Right.
I mean, I got so much time, Elliot. If I'm not drinking, then I'm fooling around 80% less with my friends that are not productive, right? I don't want to go to bars anymore. I don't want to go to clubs anymore. I just don't want to do so many things that it gives me so much time. And for a couple of months, I was just like, what do I do with all this time? And then, you just start thinking of things that you want to do, and then you start doing them. Like, you start reading, you start writing books. I want to start a podcast now, and I want to start a YouTube channel. I want to learn about investing. I mean, I made so much money in the last 12 months investing just because I had the time to do some research on some of the things that I wanted to get involved with and so on. And it's just, I mean, I play polo, Elliot. Who plays polo? I mean, people don't have the time. People are complaining, I don't have the time to go to the gym and this and that. And I have the time to pursue whatever I want because I just have so much time. And that's the biggest gift I got.
Well, I mean, without a hangover and without the late nights, you get a lot of extra hours of the day. It's quite incredible, the shift.
And you're not operating at like 45% or 55% of capacity. You're at 95, 90%. I mean, if you work out and if you don't drink or do marijuana or smoke, that's like instantly you feel like you just feel great all the time.
I mean, it's the easiest edge to take at the table because it's completely discipline and choice, rather than any skill set other than choosing not to do something that damages yourself. Something that you sort of mentioned a bit over the conversation that we talk about a lot on the show is the power of network and the impact that can have on your poker life and your life in general. Obviously, in your side of the industry, setting up these big games, I would assume the network is really one of your key strengths. So how did you go about building a network, learning to network with these people, and then sort of making it a win-win situation for everybody?
Well, it's pretty straightforward, Elliot. You talk to people and that's it. I mean, that's really it. If one thing I could ban in casinos, it would be headphones. I mean, take off your headphones and talk to the person next to you. The person next to you it's a very good chance. If he's a weak player, he's a real winner in life. And if you just talk to him, I mean, he could open up a plethora of opportunities for you. And if he's not a weak player, if he is a good player, then you could be talking to that guy and get something out of that guy. I mean, casinos is a place where people, there's so many important people that go to a casino and they have their guard down in a casino. If you met these guys in their office setting or in a networking setting, I mean, you couldn't get them to talk to you for 2 minutes or 5 minutes. I mean, because they would just have so many other things to do. But inside the space of in a poker setting or in a casino setting, when the guy is drinking, playing blackjack or something like that, I mean, he's loosened up. He'll give you his time. He'll give you his honest opinion. I'm friends with so many guys that are 55-year-old, 60-year-old, 65-year-old guys. And these are not guys that I'm just, I mean, I play cards with them. So I'm better friends with them than their own friends. I mean, they will reveal things to me that they don't reveal to anyone. Because I'm that guy that, I'm really their friend.
You're the guy who gets it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just talk to people. When people are around you, take off your headphones, talk to people, ask them questions about anything, tell them about yourself, and just build that relationship, invest in that relationship.
And, over the years, there must have been, you mentioned the sort of the pretty crazy swing backwards, but what's it like, the whole roller coaster of, the highs and lows of dealing with this as a business, over almost a decade now?
I think the biggest mistake I made was that I was not self-aware. When I started playing poker, I thought I could just keep playing without paying attention to how I was playing, and it would just turn out okay. And I could just keep playing because it was fun or whatever. But it's very important. I mean, game selection is all about self-awareness, right? You have to know your strengths. you have to understand which tables to play on. You have to understand uh, which areas you can improve on. I mean, for example, like at least the circles that I am in, I mean, not even 1 in 10 guys has a mental coach. They don't read about it. They don't like, for example, I work with you and I learn so much from you. And you help me get so much self-awareness about myself. And that doesn't mean that I'm the best poker player. I mean, I'm a pretty below average poker player, but I make a lot of money from poker just by being self-aware of which games I should play in, which games I should not play in, what I should do and what I should not do. So constantly asking yourself about where you are and what is your best, what are the best actions that you should take, puts you in a position where you will win, where puts you in a position where you will not have stress, puts you in a position where just life will be better.
And this is one of the macro parts of poker that I talk about quite a lot in my courses and, on this podcast as well, that you don't necessarily have to be the most technically sound poker player to be an incredibly successful poker player.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and the way I look at it, I think the person who's winning best is the person who puts themselves in the best possible situation to make the most money, because that's really the aim of poker, is to make the most money. And there's a lot of people who'll be listening to this who'll be playing on really hard games online. Almost treating it a bit more like a video game, trying to beat the next big boss and move up to the next level. And that's fine if you enjoy doing that. But if you're looking at poker as a lifestyle and, having the ability to travel the world, if you can find these games where there are much weaker players, you can still train online and play those games to get better and to learn. But you can actually make an incredible living if you can find your way into these networks and these games where there are people there to have fun and blow off steam, who are very wealthy guys who it's their hobby to spend money gambling in poker. And that's the table you really want to be at. How does that sound from someone who's inside this?
I actually have so much information about this, Elliot, about the aspect of making money from poker. I mean, Dan Bilzerian, I'll repeat something that Dan Bilzerian said, right? So someone asked him, how good of a poker player are you? How would you rate yourself? He said, if I have to rate myself as a poker player, I am maybe, as a high school basketball, high school level, high school team level. So I'm all right, but I'm not great. But if you take poker as a business, then I'm fucking Bill Gates, because nobody made more money than me. And I know some people think that he didn't make the money from poker and he's a trust fund kid and all that. And that's, I mean, I'm just talking about a concept here, not about the guy. But I know so many people that have made so much money from poker that are not good at all. And that's just because they put themselves in those positions. And I'm going to actually write a book about this, about how to make money from poker, actual money. And training on the technical side is maybe 20% of the game. And mental game, I would rate, is more than 20%, maybe 30-35% is the mental. And then the 40-45% is the segment that I specialize in, that I haven't found any poker literature on, which is hustle your way through to get to those games where you put yourself in a position to make so much money that you didn't think was possible.
Yeah, and I mean, it's such an under-discussed part of the game. I mean, I think in one of my training courses, I described Dan as the best poker player in the world, which everyone hates because, strategically, he's clearly not. But, if you can put out a social media and make people who don't know how to play poker come to your house to play poker, your macro game is really strong. You're setting yourself up for pretty serious success. And, the reality is that's a big part of it, is, putting yourself in a situation where people want to play with you because you're fun, and understanding that that's actually where a lot of the money and the true wealth in poker comes from. That I've seen over the years. And, being able to build rapport to people, being an actually good guy, being actually able to stick with your word and follow your word when you say
and
something.
stop. I just want to mention something here. This is one tip I could give about how to handle yourself at a poker table, especially in a fishy setting when there's a fishes on the table. Stop coaching them. They don't need your coaching. They don't want your coaching. They're not even there to make money. They're there to make fun, like have fun and just gamble. And I mean, they understand. They're not stupid. They understand that you're in a better position than them to beat them. And that's part of the reason why they like it. They want to be the underdog and kind of, give you a suck out or whatever. When they give you a suck out, like stop coaching them. Just have fun with them and laugh with them and enjoy with them. It's just that's very important.
And I think that's a really important thing to point out, that in most cases they understand they're not the winning player.
Yeah.
And as you say, they're there to have fun in the same way that everyone sitting at the casino who's betting on roulette or, so long as they're not counting cards in blackjack or whatever else, everyone knows they're losing.
Yeah.
And that's okay. As you say, or in some ways in these games, the poker player is actually providing a professional service of giving them somewhere to go where they can play some poker and giving them action.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really, really excellent advice.
And another thing about self-awareness, Elliot, is that what you said was wonderful. Actually, why are you playing poker? You need to answer that for yourself. In my case, I enjoyed playing poker for the first 6 to 8 months. After that, I was playing poker for money. And if you're playing poker for money, then your actions need to be different. And if you're playing poker for glory and you want to be the best poker player in the world, then by all means go play against the toughest competition, get there. And if that's your goal, then do that. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't want to make money. Daniel Day-Lewis is an actor that I admire, that wants to be the best actor. And that's it. That's period. And if you are the Daniel Day-Lewis of poker, then do that. But if you want to be the George Lucas and the Steven Spielberg, then the rules are different.
And I think that's the important thing. It's accepting that everyone has a choice as to what they do, but don't pretend you're doing both at the same time.
Yeah.
So don't pretend you're going, I'm aiming to be the number one in the world and be able to beat absolutely everyone. And I'm also looking to maximize my hourly whilst I'm learning. It doesn't quite work in that way. These are different skill sets. And there is a living to be made in this game. From a completely different direction than you'd hear about on 2+2 or the other forums. And that's why I wanted to bring you on, because it is a completely different form of poker when you get these environments with the weaker players who are there for fun. And like I say, to some extent, as a poker player, you're providing entertainment, but it can be extraordinarily profitable. So just as we're sort of coming to the end, any other top tips you can give some players out there to help them fit in or get into those games a little bit easier?
Get a mental coach would be number one. Get a mental coach that has experience with gambling. It will make you it'll make you understand so many things about life that you cannot imagine. And there is mental coaches available from $100 an hour to, whatever. And stop drinking, stop smoking. I mean, if you're fat, stop being fat. You make that choice. If you want to drink and that's not a problem, then I'm actually, I think that's okay. I've seen people that don't have a problem with that. And for example, there's certain things that I don't have a problem with. Like I don't have a problem with video games. I could play video games and then just stop playing them. And there's people that have problems with that. Identify what are your negative patterns and start getting rid of those handbrakes in life. For me, that was alcohol and cigarettes and certain negative behaviors in gambling, like going up against better players or sports betting or something like that. It wasn't that big of a problem for me. The alcohol was the big one for me. But whatever is your big one, slay that dragon and make a strategy.
It's going to be the easy level up. Yeah, I agree completely. And I know you're planning on this podcast release. What direction are you looking to go with this for anyone who's enjoyed this conversation today?
I'm going to talk about poker, the hustle side of poker and gambling. a lot of the times guys think that, going to a good university or, the traditional way of making it is the only way. And that's not true. So I'm going to talk about that. Any guy that didn't do well in school or university or didn't even go to university can do very well in life, in my opinion. And I'm going to talk about that because a lot of people don't talk about that. I'm going to talk about alcohol for sure. Alcohol, and I believe alcohol is just accepted because so many people do it that we've just accepted it, and I think that's it's holding humanity back. I'm going to talk a lot about that. And other than that, who knows? But yeah, I'm open. I'll talk about a lot of things, whatever comes to my mind, whatever I find interesting.
Excellent stuff, man. And good luck with the podcast and with the book. And I have actually read the first few chapters, and Shakti's story is crazy. So when that book eventually comes out, or the TV show, or however it ends up, I'll make sure that, as I say, we're going to have you back on the show as all of these different things develop. But seriously, everyone out there, there's some cool stories that you guys are going to hear about poker from a part of the world that you probably aren't even aware this is going on. And it's a pretty cool thing. So Shakti, thank you so much for coming on. And where can people find you or follow you?
My Instagram handle is shakti.mayo. Mayo is the school I went to, so it's shakti.mayo. And you can follow me there. I'm pretty much active. I don't post a lot, but I plan to change that now. I'm going to be posting a lot from now on. So yeah, follow me there, message me, ask me any questions. I'm always glad to connect, just like I was 10 years ago.
Awesome. Well, what we'll do is we'll also put a link to that on the podcast page. And again, thanks so much for coming on. Have a great week.
All right, Elliot. Have a good one.
I really appreciated Shakti coming on the show today. Poker is a world rich with surprising opportunity, but you never know what's waiting for you until you put yourself out there. Step outside of your comfort zone, leave your headphones at home, and be present at the tables, ready to connect with the possibilities in front of you. Now, if you're ready to take your mental game to the next level, then definitely head on over to agameclass.com and check out my flagship course, the A-Game Poker Masterclass. To check it out, just visit agameclass.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.
You've been listening to the Mindset Advantage podcast. To get future episodes delivered to you automatically, make sure to subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcasting service. To get any resources mentioned in the episode or to listen to past shows, visit pokermindcoach.com/TMA podcast. Thanks for listening.